Estamos acá con Simon Anholt, un asesor muy conocido a nivel mundial en place branding. Él ha cruzado el mundo para venir a vernos y conversar con nosotros. Estamos muy orgullosos y le agradecemos mucho que nos dé esta entrevista. Simon, you witnessed the creation of Marca Chile or Imagen de Chile 15 years ago. What is your opinion of what we've done, how we've done during these 15 years?
Well, Rossana, the first and most important thing to say is that you still exist. And in the world of place branding, it's really a remarkable thing to have achieved such stability. One of the biggest problems facing countries is that they find it incredibly difficult to sustain their activities over a long period. And it is necessary to do this over a long period because changing the world's mind about your country does take a long time. So the fact that the Fundación Imagen de Chile still exists after all these years and has survived several changes of government in approximately the same form as it was originally designed when I was last working here all those years ago, that's an amazing achievement and fills me with hope, because if you can survive for another 15 years, I think you could be the best in the world.
And why do you think that has been possible in Chile?
Well, there are certain aspects of Chilean society that produce stability as an inherent quality. This is not a country that changes everything every time the president changes. And that's very good. It's a very lucky situation to be in. It's not a criticism of other countries, but the majority of other democracies, when the government changes, almost literally everything gets torn up and you have to start again. And that can be a terrible waste. If you've spent time and effort and people's brilliance in creating something good, it's absolutely heartbreaking if you lose it every 4 years or every 6 years. One of the smart things that Imagen de Chile has done is to create very strong links with the private sector. And the private sector is critically important in these initiatives for so many reasons. But one of the main reasons is they have a longer time scale than the public sector. And so they can keep the engine turning while the government changes and maintain some stability over time.
Over the years, we have seen that Chile has earned certain recognition in some aspect. What element do you consider that allow a country to capture visibility and translate that into a good image?
The natural environment and the protection of the natural environment, that's one. The other one, I guess, is just more to do with the natural assets of the country. Its landscape, its culture, its history, its people. Those are the fundamentals of earning a good image. They don't automatically mean that you will have a good image, but they are the raw material that you have to work with. So the whole argument of sustainability is critically important because it's the one thing that everybody in the world, or almost everybody, is worried about today. Even the people, perhaps especially the people who claim that climate change does not exist, are worried about it, which is why they go to all the trouble of claiming that it's not true, which is an absurd position. So they're obviously very frightened by climate change. The rest of us are somewhat frightened by climate change. And the consequence of that is that what people are looking for around the world is countries that are helping, countries that are contributing something to resolving these terrifying challenges. And any country that can demonstrate that it is helping, supporting the environment, the planet, the natural world in effective, sustained, imaginative ways will build a better image. In other words, people need to feel glad that you exist. They need to think before they go to sleep at night, Chile, I'm glad that Chile is there because it's helping my planet be a safer planet, a better planet. And that's almost the most important thing you can do. When countries start thinking about their image, they often imagine wrongly that it's a question of bragging, telling the world about all of your wonderful assets and your wonderful achievements, your glorious history, your beautiful landscapes. All that has a place. In tourism promotion, for example, you have to do that. But when it comes to the actual image, people are not so very interested in what you've done. They're more interested in who you are today and where you're going in the future. So it's perfectly legitimate, I think, for a place brand strategy to be based on your future direction, as long as it's a sincere commitment and it's exciting and inspiring.
What would you say to those who believe that a country's image has to be more related to promoting the exports or the tourism, not in these values, as you could say?
The relationship between the success of the individual sectors and the overall image of the country is quite a complex relationship. They are linked, because obviously if a country has a good, powerful, positive image, then everything it does, everything it sells, is going to be easier and cheaper, because people already know they like you. So the products that are made in your country, people want them a bit more than the products that are made in a country they know nothing about. But also it works the other way. If a country is very successful in promoting its tourism, then it becomes better known. New Zealand is an excellent example of this. As New Zealand became more and more desirable as a tourist destination, its overall image improved because people started to learn what it looked like. And certainly those of us who are sighted, we tend to judge everything by what it looks like. And if we see that a country is very beautiful, and we see that with New Zealand in movies, The Lord of the Rings most noticeably, but also in tourist promotion and stuff like that, that sectoral promotion, that tourism promotion feeds into the overall image of the country. So it moves in both directions. But I think it's a mistake to confuse the two. They are handled in completely different ways. Tourism promotion, investment promotion, talent attraction, major event hosting, these are all basically marketing activities. In other words, you have a defined target audience out there somewhere in the world that you want to sell something to. You've found some people who want to buy a holiday. You sell them a holiday. That is a marketing exercise. And in principle, not in practice, but in principle, it's very, very simple. And the more money you spend on good promotion, the more tourists you will get. In that respect, tourism is a very straightforward business. Investment promotion, it's a little bit more complex. It's business to business. It's not so much about mass marketing. It's more about legislation and sales. But still, it's the same principle. It's still a marketing exercise. Improving the image of the country is a totally different thing, because you're not selling anything. At the heart of any tourism message is the basic, simple idea, buy this, it's good. Now, when you want to change people's minds about the kind of country Chile is, you're not saying, buy this, it's good. You're saying, you will change your mind about this country, which if you're not careful, looks like government propaganda. And people will simply ignore it, because by definition, they will ignore anything that a foreign government tells them to do. So the main difference is that the sectoral promotion is fundamentally about marketing, messaging, positioning, and all of those familiar concepts. The management of the image of the country is not about messaging. It's not about marketing. It's more about the way the country behaves and how that behavior is relevant to people around the world and their needs and their aspirations.
But do you think there has to be a collaboration between sectoral promotion and the work for a country's image?
Yes, those two do have to be connected. You have to be in touch with each other. And to the extent that you're allowed to as a national image office, it is also important that you have a say on whether their promotional activities are helping the brand or not helping the brand. Are they on strategy? It doesn't matter if they're not on strategy, but maybe it matters if they're contradicting the strategy. So for example, if the mining sector is putting out a lot of communications that suggest, it's not the case usually in Chile, but if it's suggesting that you're a big polluter, and the national image strategy is about a country that is highly sustainable and environmentally friendly, then that's a potential conflict. And you should be in a position where you can say that and where you can discuss it. Beyond that, I would say it's probably a good idea to keep them quite separate. And it's important the sectors should understand that your job as the Fundación Imagen de Chile is not to promote their sectors for them. That's not your job, that's their job. They've got the marketers, they've got the budgets, they've got the knowledge of the media channels and the audience to sell their product. What you're doing is you're helping to convert that activity into a better overall image for the country in the longer term. And that will come back and do them a favor because it will make their job easier in the longer term.